I was tricked into the film school by my dad. After secondary school, I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to do music, and my dad tricked me and said, "Oh, they are going to teach you how to." Hello, my name is Kagho Idehebor, and I'm a filmmaker based in Lagos, Nigeria, and I'm the latest Best Short Film winner of the prestigious African Magic Viewers' Choice Award, AMVCA 2024. Before then, I had no idea. There was no preconceived idea about being a filmmaker or a director. There was nothing connected. Attending the university, and I'm in the film school, and I'm just writing, understanding, and writing. So my first introduction was understanding the passion. So I felt I got passionate about film, got passionate about the craft. I loved it, and yeah, I think that was the takeoff. After that, I ventured into directing. Everybody wanted to be a director, it's always easy to be in charge and directing. So yeah, I started directing one or two, three, four projects. But cinematography was born out of some sort of, passion and by chance too. As a director in a film school, I was filming one day and I wasn't really too feeling the camera work. And I got back to the class and I told my class that I'm going to handle the camera for the next project. Film that I feel obligated to tell, personal stories, and yeah. So when I get ideas like that and inspiration, I pull up my director's hat. But as a person, as a career, I'm a cameraman. I feel I'm destined to be a cameraman. I feel that is my purpose in this world, to capture moments, to preserve moments, and to, communicate through visuals. So that is the difference from my directing and cinematography.
Okay, thank you. So, like you said, right, I'm sure you're a storyteller. So, and I know there are like a lot of stories to tell about Broken Mask.
Yeah.
So, can you give us like a little bit about the inspiration behind the film?
Yeah. So, Broken Mask is a personal idea. It's a personal story that I felt obligated to tell. So if you see the internet, there was a time, or it still happened today. It's just that it's not much propagated. People don't talk about it much because it's a sensitive issue. So there's always a case of child molestation everywhere. If you go to the internet, you see it, the streets and the news, but they never really see punishment given to these people, and you don't know why it happens, or in what circumstances, why would somebody think in that direction, So, and when I see news like that or cases like that, I was like, oh, if this kind of thing happened close to me, I will break the person's head, stuff like that. Until one day, somebody very close to me just told me that, oh, I almost got molested by my uncle. So that really kind of distuned my mind, because those things you think they are so far away from us is actually very close. And yeah, and that's the inspiration for making the film Broken Mask. I started, thinking about the story, how people suffer, how children grow up in this kind of situation where they get molested as children, and they just, sweep the issue off the carpet because they don't want the family to be victimized or, be dented, stuff like that, and leaving the child to grow up with that trauma and that pain, and they grow up and affect other children or affect the opposite gender and, stuff like that. So those were the obligation I had to want to tell this kind of story, but it's looking at it from a justice point of view, because the genre of the film is magical realism, and it touches on, forces. It touches on African spirituality, African motifs, how art can vindicate you as an artist, how your art can speak for you, how your art can justify you, or render you some sort of freedom. So I use the Broken Mask as a tool, or as an expression to touch on these issues, how we feel that we can do things and get away with it, and how the world or how the universe has a way of creating its own karma. Just stuff like that. Those are the things I try to want to say with the film The Broken Mask.
Okay, that's really good. So speaking about art, right, we also saw that the film Broken Mask was inspired by Ben Nwowo, the Nigerian artist. So could you like elaborate more on that?
So I wouldn't say the film was inspired by Ben Nwono, the artist, but the character and the setting of the film was inspired by, Ben Nwono's work. And so my character is a sculptor, and a painter, a seasoned sculptor and painter who somehow his daughter got molested or almost got molested by her uncle. And I wanted to create something authentic. I wanted to create a world where you see this artist in a studio and you know that this is an artist studio. And when you see the paintings on the wall, you know that, yes, this is a painting done by this artist. So I was looking for a model for my character, how I can create that mannerism, how I can create that, that model, authentic model for my character. And Benwonu is a painter and a sculptor. My character is a painter and a sculptor. So I was just looking through his works while I was still conceptualizing the idea, even in the story. And I stumbled on one of his paintings called Ogolo. And Ogolo is a masquerade that he drew. Even the style of the Ogolo and the way Ogolo looks like, it inspired me in, creating my character, because my character is metamorphosed into a masquerade. Somehow, when you see the film, you understand it. It's metamorphosed into some sort of spiritual presentation that was beyond explanation, even to the artist himself. So I needed something very authentic. I needed an authentic backdrop to place my character. And when I was looking through Ben Nwonu's paintings and his works, even his studio, I created my set to look like, I got inspiration from the pictures I saw him in his studio, and But when I started decorating my character I want to be, I used the works of Juliet Ezenwa as a backdrop, because when I started reading about masquerade, and I want to use masquerade as a motif for my film, because it's Africa. If you want to talk of the major, traditional motif of Africa, you have to do with a mask. So I started looking for masquerades that are feminine masquerades. And Juliet Ezenwa is one of those artists that she's the only one that I've seen that I've drew masquerade in a feminine form, because she always says that masquerades women are exempted from the community of masquerade, and she always say women are being sidelined when it comes to masquerade, because even the masquerade when you see that is drawn that is made in a female form is being worn by a man. And my character is a female character who, transformed into some sort of female masquerade. So Juliet Ezenwa's work was also a very strong inspiration for me, because if you see the paintings in the film that I use, the original paintings I use as props and design were works of Juliet Ezenwa. So yeah, Ben Nwono inspired me in creating a world for my artists, and I used the works of Juliet Ezenwa as a design, a decoration to recreate the artistry of my character.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the best advice you've ever received in your journey as a filmmaker? And what's one advice you would give to aspiring filmmakers or directors?
The best advice I've ever received as a filmmaker. I think so far, the best advice I would say I have received as a filmmaker is an advice from a guy called DJ T. And that came when I was in the film school. When I was at choir, I was just making, inquiries on how the industry works in Lagos. So after the film school, I was thinking of moving to Lagos. And he said something, he said, be humble and be ready to learn. Be humble and be hungry to learn. And being humble comes with a lot of humiliations and a lot of backlash. But if you're able to accommodate those things because you're seeing the bigger picture. It will propel you. So being humble and incubate your talent and incubate your art is, I think, is the best advice I've ever gotten as a cameraman. Just be humble. And if I would give any advice to anybody or to younger filmmaker coming, younger than me or trying to get into the industry, I would say, I will use that same advice as well. Be humble, be authentic. You have to be humble. You have to be ready to pay your dues. Be ready to learn. Be ready to put your hands down and put your backs down and look for, mentors. Don't be scared to go back to the drawing board, start all over again. Like me, for example, I did 6 years in the film school. I have a professional diploma and I have a bachelor's degree. But when I graduated, I picked up all those certificates and dumped them under my pillow and went back and started working as a PA, as a production assistant from scratch, and started understanding that, there's a whole lot to learn again about life, about philosophies, about discovering yourself and understanding your process, So yeah, be humble, be hungry, be authentic. Listen to yourself, listen to your intuition, Most importantly, discover yourself, know the kind of story you want to tell, know the kind of art you want to make. There are so many kind of arts. There are so many artistry, but if you don't fix yourself somewhere, if you don't know yourself, you will just be open to do anything, and it may not be, you may not be authentic by doing that. So be authentic, be open, be humble. Well, I want to thank MTN for sponsoring this category. It's a huge encouragement, and thanks for the, platform to share my story, share my ideas, and talk about my future project, and also inspire people. So yeah, thank you MTN, and let's keep doing this because it's a huge encouragement for people to put in the work. So yeah, peace out.